Welcome to Deep Dive, the Novel Aftershow. This is the podcast where we uncover the hidden layers, unravel the twists, and explore the worlds within words of the novels of, well, me, J. Kevin Tumlinson. Whether you've just finished the book or you're curious about what's inside, spoilers and all, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Welcome to our deep dive into the world of the Coelho Medallion.
Ooh, very exciting.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to be using some excerpts from the novel itself.
Okay.
As well as your notes
Great.
and research that you've done
good.
on Vikings and Viking history.
All right.
I have to say, even before getting into this, a few pretty big questions just popped up for me.
It is a captivating blend of history and fiction, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What specifically caught your eye?
Well, first off, the medallion itself.
Okay.
What makes it so special that it sparked a museum heist?
Right.
And D, caught the attention of terrorists.
It is interesting how a single artifact
Right.
can become the focal point for such intense desire.
Yeah.
Novel taps into the power of symbols and how they resonate with different groups, often in conflicting ways.
Yeah.
You were particularly interested in the Norse mythology aspects, weren't you?
Absolutely. And this is where it gets really interesting for me.
Okay.
Vikings in the American Southwest. How did they get there?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That Pueblo, Colorado discovery mentioned in the book, I remember you had some thoughts on that.
Right, because it challenges the traditional narrative we often see.
Right.
The prevailing theory was that Vikings just stayed along the coasts.
Yeah.
But the novel,
Yeah.
and some of the recent scholarship you shared,
Right.
suggests a much more widespread presence
Yeah.
if Vikings were reaching the Southwest.
Yeah.
It opens up fascinating questions about trade routes, interactions with indigenous populations,
Right.
and the potential for reinterpreting existing archaeological finds.
Okay, so let's follow the thread of the story a bit.
Okay.
We meet Dr. Kotler, our expert on all things Norse.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI brings him in
Yeah,
because of his connection to the missing researcher, Dr. Herelica.
right.
But FBI Director Crispin seems almost as suspicious of Kotler as he is of the terrorists.
Yeah, it creates a wonderful tension right from the start.
Right.
Is Kotler being recruited for his knowledge, or is he being set up as a patsy? Right. You pointed out a similar dynamic in that article about the Kensington runestone.
Yes.
How experts can become embroiled in controversy
Right.
just by trying to interpret the evidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of interpretation,
Yeah?
the runes themselves play a key role.
Oh, absolutely.
I admit I needed a bit of a refresher
Sure.
on how those work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Runes weren't just a Viking alphabet.
Right.
They were imbued with symbolic meaning believed to hold power.
Okay.
The novel uses this idea to great effect.
Yeah.
With the runes on the medallion and the ancient totem pointing towards a hidden river system
Right.
and this city of gold.
And that's where my brain started doing backflips.
Yeah.
A hidden river used by Vikings
Right.
leading to a lost city.
Yeah.
Come on, that's straight out of an adventure movie.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But your notes had some interesting parallels
Yeah.
to real-world underground formations, right?
Yes. While a city of gold might be fictional, there are vast cave systems in the American Southwest that were definitely known and used by indigenous populations.
Right.
The idea of the Vikings navigating such a system,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps even interacting with these groups,
Yeah.
adds a layer of plausibility
Yeah.
to the story's more fantastical elements.
Okay, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Did you ever buy into that whole literal city of gold idea?
Honestly, I was more intrigued by the symbolic possibilities.
Okay.
You highlighted some research about how different cultures value different resources.
Right.
Could the gold represent something other than precious metal,
Yeah.
something of immense value to the Vikings, but not in a way we might immediately think of?
Ooh, now that's a thought-provoking question. And the novel does play with our expectations there.
Right.
But before we get too deep into the city,
Yeah.
I want to unpack this Mark Cantor character, billionaire funding the dig.
Right.
Seems a bit too good to be true, right?
His motivations are definitely complex.
Yeah.
Remember that part in the book where he talks about his family history?
Mm-hmm.
His father's involvement in early Pueblo research?
Right.
It made me think of that article you shared about the role of private funding in archaeology.
Yeah.
It can lead to amazing discoveries,
Right.
but it can also be influenced by personal agendas.
Which is exactly what happens with Cantor.
Yeah.
This isn't just about uncovering history for him.
Right.
It's about revenge.
Yeah.
For some perceived betrayal of his father.
It adds a whole other layer of tension to the story.
It certainly does. And
Yeah.
it raises the question,
Yeah.
what lengths will people go to
Right.
for the sake of personal vindication, even if it means putting others at risk?
Exactly.
Which brings us back to the FBI and that whole mole situation.
Yeah.
They initially suspect Kotler,
Right.
but it turns out it's Richard Barmouth, one of the researchers at the dig.
Right.
Jealousy and ambition, classic motivators.
It's a reminder that even in the world of academia, personal rivalries and the desire for recognition can have far-reaching consequences.
Yeah.
Barmouth's seemingly small act of leaking information has a ripple effect,
Right.
contributing to the larger events of the story.
Right.
It makes you think about how seemingly insignificant choices can have unforeseen consequences.
And this is where things take a really dark turn.
Okay.
Kotler figures out that the city of gold isn't about riches.
Oh, wow.
It's about access.
Okay.
Adam's plan is to use the underground river to infiltrate NORAD with a nuclear weapon.
It's a chilling reminder that ancient knowledge
Right.
in the wrong hands
Yeah.
can be a tool for destruction.
Yeah.
The novel highlights the tension between preserving the past
Mm-hmm.
and protecting the present.
Right.
And it makes you wonder
Yeah.
what other secrets might be hidden beneath the surface waiting to be exploited.
Okay, so before we head deeper into that hidden world, there's one more thing from the novel that I have to bring up.
Yeah, okay.
The author's notes mention this mysterious character, Victor. What's the deal with him?
Yeah.
He seems important,
Yeah, he does.
but we don't really get to know him in this part of the story.
That's right. It's almost as if the author is dangling a thread, hinting at a larger web of intrigue that we haven't fully uncovered yet.
All right.
It makes you want to keep reading, doesn't it?
It totally does.
To see how Victor fits into the puzzle.
I'm hooked.
Okay.
Ready to dive deeper into the mystery of the City of Gold.
Absolutely. Let's see what secrets the underground river holds.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we're back and ready to plunge into this underground world. But
Yes.
before we get there,
Okay.
I keep thinking about Mark Cantor.
Yeah.
We left off with the revelation that his motives are all about revenge.
Right.
But the novel doesn't spell it out completely.
Yeah.
What exactly happened with his father?
Well, remember that passage where Cantor mentions his father's research being infiltrated by spies during World War II?
Mm-hmm.
That's a key detail. Apparently, Cantor believes his father was betrayed and killed by someone connected to that research. He's obsessed with uncovering the truth and exacting revenge.
That makes sense, but it also raises a question for me.
Okay.
We know the research focused on Pueblo,
Right.
the same location as the medallions discovery.
Right.
But how does that tie into the Nazis?
Yeah.
What were they interested in during that time period?
That's where your own research comes in handy.
Okay.
Remember that article you sent me about Nazi interest in ancient artifacts and occult symbolism?
Yeah.
It wasn't just about looting treasures.
Right.
They were looking for anything that could give them an edge, even if it meant delving into the fringes of history and mythology.
So Cantor believes there's a connection between his father's death, the Nazis,
Yeah.
and potentially the medallion itself.
It's possible.
That's a pretty wild theory.
It is. And it speaks to the way the novel blends real-world history with fictional intrigue.
Right.
It makes you wonder what secrets might have been buried with Cantor's father's secrets that someone was willing to kill for.
And speaking of secrets and betrayals,
Yes.
we have to talk about the FBI mole situation.
Right.
It wasn't Kotler after all.
No, it wasn't.
It was Richard Barmouth, one of the researchers.
Right?
That revelation really threw me for a loop.
It was a clever twist.
Yeah.
On the surface, Barmouth seems like a minor character, but his actions have a domino effect,
Yeah.
setting off a chain of events that nearly leads to disaster.
Yeah. It reminds us that seemingly insignificant choices can have far-reaching consequences.
Absolutely.
What I found fascinating was his motivation.
Okay.
It wasn't ideology or
Wow.
some grand scheme,
Yeah.
just plain old jealousy and ambition.
Yeah, very relatable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He wanted recognition, even if it meant putting countless lives at risk.
That's the tragedy of it.
Yeah.
He's so focused on his own personal gain that he fails to grasp the magnitude of the threat he's enabling.
Right, he's got blinders on.
Yeah, it highlights the dangers of unchecked ambition
Yeah.
and the need for ethical considerations even in the pursuit of knowledge.
It's a good reminder for all of us.
Which brings us back to that knowledge itself.
Yes.
And the city of gold.
Right.
We now know it's not about literal riches,
Right.
but a fortified island deep within the river system.
Yes.
The novel plays with our expectations,
Yeah, it does.
leading us to believe it's about treasure before revealing the true meaning.
Right, like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant way of subverting the classic treasure hunt trope.
Yeah.
Remember that conversation we had about how different cultures value different resources?
Right.
Well, it turns out the real gold is corn.
What?
Yeah, the Vikings might have been trading with indigenous tribes for this vital resource, establishing a unique and unexpected partnership centuries ago.
That completely reframed the story for me.
Yeah.
Instead of a quest for riches, it becomes a tale of survival, adaptation, and cultural exchange.
Exactly.
And it adds a whole new layer to the Viking presence in America.
Yeah.
They weren't just raiders.
Yeah.
They were traders, farmers,
Right.
and perhaps even collaborators with the people they encountered.
It paints a much more nuanced picture, doesn't it?
It really does.
It challenges us to reconsider the traditional narrative of conquest and colonization,
Right.
offering a glimpse into a more nuanced and complex history.
And it highlights the importance of looking beyond the surface,
Yeah.
of questioning our assumptions,
Right.
and considering alternative perspectives.
Exactly.
And speaking of perspectives,
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the indigenous tribes themselves.
Yeah.
The novel hints at their involvement,
It does.
but we don't get their full story.
Right.
Do you think there's more to be explored there?
Absolutely. It would be fascinating to delve deeper into their relationship with the Vikings,
Yeah.
their knowledge of the river system,
No.
and their own understanding of the City of Gold.
Right.
What did it represent to them?
Yeah.
What role did they play in its creation and protection?
I love how this opens up even more questions.
I know.
It's like the novel is just the tip of the iceberg, and there's a whole submerged world of history waiting to be uncovered.
Precisely. And that's what makes this deep dive so compelling.
Yes.
It's not just about following the plot of the novel.
Right.
It's about using it as a springboard to explore a deeper, richer history.
Okay, I can't hold back any longer.
Let's hear it.
Let's talk about that heart-stopping climax.
Okay.
Kotler and Denzel are racing against time to stop Adam, who's trying to reach NORAD through this treacherous underground river.
Oh, man.
The tension is incredible.
The novel really excels at building suspense in those scenes.
Yeah.
Remember how it describes the river?
Yeah.
Dark, claustrophobic,
Yeah.
full of unknown dangers.
Right.
It's a visceral experience, almost like
Yeah.
you're right there with them,
Yes.
navigating the unknown.
I felt that way too.
Yeah.
But what I found even more captivating
Yeah.
was how Kotler uses his knowledge of Viking history and symbolism to decipher clues and predict Adam's route.
It's like he's got this secret weapon.
Yeah, it's like a historical treasure hunt,
Yeah.
but with life or death stakes.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
brilliant way of showcasing the power of knowledge
Right.
and its application in unexpected situations.
Who would have thought that understanding ancient star charts
Right.
and Viking navigation techniques
Yeah.
could be the key to stopping a nuclear attack?
It's pretty amazing.
Right. It's a reminder that the past is never truly gone,
Yeah.
that it continues to shape our present in ways we might not even realize.
Absolutely.
And it highlights the importance of preserving and understanding that past, even in its most obscure and seemingly irrelevant details.
Couldn't agree more.
And speaking of obscure details,
Yeah.
remember that mysterious character mentioned in the author's note?
Yeah.
Victor?
Oh, right. Victor.
Well, he makes his grand entrance in this part of the story,
He does.
and it's not what we expected.
That's the brilliance of it.
Yeah.
He's introduced as this shadowy figure,
Uh-huh.
a master of manipulation and deception. But his true motives remain shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, it leaves you wondering,
It does.
who is he working for?
Right.
What's his end game?
It's like a puzzle within a puzzle.
Yeah.
We're trying to decipher the Vikings' route,
Right.
uncover the secrets of the City of Gold,
Yeah.
and figure out who this Victor character is and what role he plays in the larger scheme of things.
And just when you think you've got it all figured out,
Yeah.
the novel throws another curveball.
Oh.
Remember that confrontation in the City of Gold?
Yeah.
The man they thought was Adam, the one they killed? It turns out he was an imposter.
Oh, wow.
Wait, what an imposter.
Yeah.
So the real Adam is still out there,
He is.
somewhere along this vast river system with a nuclear weapon.
That's right.
Exactly. And to make matters worse,
Yeah. Oh, what's worse?
he's not alone.
Oh, no.
He's got Dr. Harelica with him.
Oh, gosh, that's not good.
It's a shocking revelation that raises the stakes even higher
Right.
and adds a whole new layer of complexity to the plot.
Absolutely.
So not only do they have to find the real Adam and disarm the nuke,
Right.
but they also have to rescue Dr. Harelica.
It's a tall order.
Talk about pressure.
It's a race against time with global implications.
Yeah.
And it's all playing out in this hidden subterranean world, a world that the Vikings navigated centuries ago.
This is getting intense.
It is.
I can't wait to see how it all unfolds in the final part.
Well, then let's not waste any more time.
Okay,
To dive into the conclusion.
Okay, deep breath. We left off with a lot to unpack.
I know, right?
A fake Adam,
Yeah.
the real one still on the loose with a nuke.
Uh-huh.
Indeed, this mysterious Victor character emerging from the shadows.
Yeah, he's a wild card for sure.
Where do we even begin with all this?
Well, it's the point in the story where everything converges.
Okay.
We've got the historical mystery of the river system,
Right.
the high-stakes thriller of stopping a nuclear attack,
Uh-huh.
and now these personal vendettas and hidden agendas coming to light.
I'm particularly struck by how the novel uses the setting itself to heighten the tension.
Oh, absolutely.
This isn't just a chase through some city streets.
Yeah.
They're navigating this dark, claustrophobic river system
Yeah,
that feels almost like another world.
exactly. It plays into our fascination with the unknown.
Right.
Those spaces beneath the surface that we rarely get to experience.
Yeah.
And it adds a layer of plausibility
Right.
to the idea that something like this could remain hidden for centuries.
Yeah, remember those articles you shared about undiscovered cave systems
Oh, yeah.
in the American Southwest?
Cool.
It makes you wonder what else might be out there,
It really does.
waiting to be found.
Yeah, we've only scratched the surface.
Okay, but let's focus on the task at hand.
Right.
Stopping Adam.
Okay.
Kotler and Denzel are relying on his knowledge of Viking lore to track him down.
Mm-hmm.
But that seems like a long shot, right?
It's a race against time, for sure.
Yeah.
But remember, Kotler isn't just randomly searching. He's piecing together clues.
Uh-huh.
Using his understanding of Viking navigation,
Right.
their astronomical knowledge,
Okay.
and even their cultural beliefs about the underworld.
Right.
It's like he's deciphering an ancient code
Yeah.
hidden within the river itself.
One of my favorite parts
Yeah,
is when he realizes that the Vikings weren't just traveling through the river,
right.
they were using it as a giant calendar,
Right?
aligning their movements with celestial events.
Wow.
It's like they built a secret map using the stars.
It's a brilliant example of how the novel blends fact and fiction.
Right.
We know the Vikings were skilled astronomers and navigators.
Mm.
The idea that they might have incorporated that knowledge
Right.
into their underground journeys is both plausible
Yeah.
and incredibly imaginative.
So following those celestial clues,
Yeah.
Kotler manages to predict where Adam is heading.
Yeah.
But this is where things get even more complicated.
Oh.
Victor steps in, and
Yeah.
we learn he's been working with Adam all along.
Oh, wow. That's a big reveal.
That's the twist that really throws everything into question.
It does.
Up until this point, we've assumed the conflict is relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
Stop the terrorists, save the world.
Right. Good versus evil.
But Victor's presence suggests a much deeper,
Yeah.
more insidious agenda at play.
Absolutely.
It's almost as if he's playing a game,
Yeah.
manipulating events for his own amusement.
Right. Like he's getting a kick out of it.
And that makes him even more dangerous than Adam.
I think you're right.
At least Adam has a goal,
Yeah.
a reason for his actions.
He's got an ideology.
Victor seems motivated by chaos itself.
You picked up on something crucial there.
Yeah.
The novel uses Victor
Mm-hmm.
to explore the idea that some people are drawn to power and control,
Right.
not for any specific purpose, but simply for the thrill of it.
It's a chilling thought.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got this three-way standoff.
Okay.
Kotler and Denzel trying to stop the nuke,
Mm.
Adam trying to detonate it,
Mm.
and Victor pulling strings from the shadows.
Yeah.
Where does it all lead?
Well, the climax takes place in the city of gold itself.
Okay.
Remember, it's not about treasure,
Right.
but a strategically important location that Adam wants to use to his advantage.
Uh-huh.
It becomes the symbolic heart of the novel,
Okay.
the place where past and present collide.
And this is where Kotler has to make an impossible choice.
Ooh, what's that?
Disarm the nuke or rescue Dr. Harelica, who's still Victor's prisoner.
Oh, man.
Talk about pressure.
It's a classic dilemma, forcing him to weigh the greater good against his personal responsibility for someone he cares about.
Right.
The novel doesn't offer any easy answers,
Yeah.
highlighting the ethical complexities of such situations.
So what does he do?
He takes a gamble, a risky one.
Okay.
He splits his efforts, sending Denzel after Adam and the nuke,
Uh-huh.
while he goes after Victor and Dr. Horilika.
Okay.
It's a race against time on two fronts,
Right.
each with potentially devastating consequences.
I was on the edge of my seat during those scenes.
I bet.
Denzel disarming the nuke at the last second.
Yeah.
Kotler confronting Victor in a desperate fight for survival.
It's so intense.
It's all incredibly intense.
And what's remarkable is how the novel manages to maintain that intensity
Right.
while also staying true to its core themes.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of the action, we see the echoes of history,
Right.
the power of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and the enduring human capacity for both good and evil.
So in the end, good prevails.
It does.
The nuke is disarmed, Dr. Horilika is rescued,
Yeah.
and both Adam and Victor are dead.
Wow.
But it's not a clean victory, is it?
Not at all.
Ah,
Kotler is left with the weight of his actions,
right.
the knowledge that he had to take lives to save countless others.
Yeah,
It's a burden that heroes often carry,
right.
the moral complexities that come with making life or death decisions.
And there's also the question of the City of Gold itself.
Yeah, what happens?
What happens to this incredible discovery?
Well, Kotler, recognizing the importance of the site
Mm-hmm.
and the potential dangers it represents,
Right.
works to ensure its protection.
Okay.
He understands that knowledge this powerful needs to be handled with care,
Yeah.
that it can be both a blessing and a curse.
It's a fitting ending
Yeah.
to a story that's all about the duality of knowledge,
Right.
the way it can be used for both creation and destruction,
Mm-hmm.
for personal gain or for the betterment of humanity.
Absolutely. It makes you think.
Exactly. If a vanishing river and a hidden Viking city can exist right under our noses,
Right.
what else might we be missing?
It's a good question.
It makes you want to grab a shovel and start digging, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And who knows, maybe you'll make a discovery that rewrites history as we know it.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Until next time.
See you then.
Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive, the Novel Aftershow. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with your fellow book lovers and leave us a review. And visit kevintumlinson.com/books to dive into your next adventure.